Chapter 32, Anatomy. After a jog in the morning, the next day, Dr. Marcacius, George, and I went to Amzawarbash to catch the next Green Line train toward Harleman Lake to study the anatomy of the objects to help us solve the riddles the return left us. While we were on the train, I began to notice something. "What do you notice?" Dr. Marcacius asked. "George, can you get up and follow me?" I asked George with Dr. Marcacius's question still in my mind. "What do you want me to get up for?" George asked. You know how some of these riddles have signs on them saying this is a Green Line train and where we are going on the train, I asked. "Yeah," George asked. "How well can you see the reflection on the window, because these signs are really bright lights and they are close to the window?" I asked. "Let me see," George said. There was no one in our train car, so he took a look to see what there was in a different part of the car. "Huh," said George. "What have you found?" I asked. "If you look closely at it, the color green is just green pixels, while the white font consists of red, blue, and green," answered George. Yes, Dr. Marcacius, that is what I noticed," I finally answered for Dr. Marcacius. "Why did you make him get up for it and not you?" Dr. Marcacius asked. "Remember, I only like getting up when the train is stopped," I reminded. "Oh yeah, I forgot about that," Dr. Marcacius said. By now we were leaving the loop and passing Clorkin Lake Station. It was about 15 more minutes before we arrived at Conservatory Central Park Drive Station. "Time check?" Dr. Marcacius asked and ordered at the same time. 12:54, I answered on my watch. She said she'll be here at 1. I would think she will be here on the next train," said Dr. Marcacius. Sure enough, Hannah did arrive on the next Green Line train heading toward Harleman Lake. "Hey, Marcus, Sam and George," said Hannah getting off the train. "Hey," said Marcus slash Dr. Marcacius, and Hannah then kissed on the lips. Just so you guys know, Hannah can call me Marcus, and you may not," said Dr. Marcacius. "Okay," I said because of how strict he is on me. George just nodded. Where is this botanical conservatory exactly?" Hannah asked. "Just down the road, once you head down those stairs," said Dr. Marcacius. We then walked down the stairs from the station. "Oh, I see it," Hannah said. We discovered it when we needed to hide from our mom for a little bit," said Dr. Marcacius. "We feel a strong connection to it," said George. However, our secret spot is not in there," I added. "Where is it?" Hannah asked. Well, we will show it to you after we are done here," answered Dr. Marcacius. We then entered the conservatory, and then entered the Palm House after we told our area codes for attendance records. "Begin looking for puzzles now," said Dr. Marcacius, when we entered the Palm House. I then began looking all over the place, and the first thing I came across was a new side wall covered in tiles on the side of the path we were on. "Stop," I said. What have you come across?" Dr. Marcacius asked. "The path barrier wall switches color," I said. It looks like a rainbow," said George. "That's because it is meant to be a rainbow," Hannah added. "The structure didn't take up the whole wall. It just took up a part of it, and it was just temporarily as part of a traveling exhibit at the conservatory." What are you going to do in here?" asked Dr. Marcacius. "I'm going to go from one end, I'm going to go to one end and then see the color I see, because the columns don't change colors, but the rows do as I walk my way along," I answered. "Knock yourself out," Dr. Marcacius said. "This is going to take a few minutes," I warned. "Anything to figure out the anatomy of these riddles," said Dr. Marcacius. "Okay, here I go," I said. I walk over to the far side of the barrier and I place my finger down. Light red, Normal red, I said. The process continued several minutes. Light purple, I said as I was finishing up. It just looks like a rainbow from here, said George, who was standing further down the path from where we were. But really, it's made of tiles, I said. I think the lesson to be learned here is that objects aren't always as they seem, said Dr. Marcacius. Can that apply to riddles too? I asked. Riddles? Asked Dr. Marcacius. What is the answer to the riddles? I asked. That's what we were trying to figure out. It's just that the thing is that what are we supposed to do with them? Dr. Marcacius asked. What do you mean, what are you supposed to do with them? You answer them, Hannah said. How do you answer them, said Dr. Marcacius with emphasis on the how. The return never explained that to us, I explained. Oh, I see, said Hannah. The return also said this could be a game of hide and seek, and we just need to seek the return out like you are going to do with me, said George. George then disappeared into the poorhouse again. Well, this isn't the first time he's done this, said Dr. Marcacius. Should we split up and find him? Asked Hannah. No, he knows better than to leave the property, so I am not worried about it, said Dr. Marcacius. Not even to the secret spot? Hannah asked. We have talked with him several times that when we are here, we stay on this property. Several times? Because he didn't listen? Asked Hannah. Nope, just reminders, because when we know he will behave. I said. Okay, said Hannah. We then began walking around the farmhouse in the third room and into the show house, and then we got to the room with the fountain. I do not know where George is, but I do know how to set up bait if he is hiding in here, or the photography at the end of this room, I said. How? How? Hannah asked. Dr. Marcacius, I am having another anatomy flashback, I said, about to answer Hannah's question. How? Dr. Marcacius asked. Follow along with me, I said. Me too, Hannah asked. Me too, Hannah asked. Yes, follow along with my finger, I said to Hannah. Okay, said Hannah. 1, 2, 3. I was counting, and each time I pointed at a ceiling fan was when I switched numbers until I got up to 12. What do you want us to remember? Hannah asked. Shouldn't George be the one obsessed with ceiling fans and not you? Dr. Marcacius asked. I am about to answer both of those questions after you answer this one. Do you remember the number of each of those ceiling fans? I asked. Left row front to back is 1 to 6. Right row is 7 to 12, Hannah answered. What is your point? Dr. Marcacius asked. 2, 3, and 5 are off. All the odds in 10 are on low. All other odds in 10 low. 4 and 8 medium, 12 high, I said. George then came flying out of the photography room. I told you I had bait, I said. Wow, you just explained the anatomy of this install, Dr. Marcacius said. That is what you want me to do, I said. We applaud you for it, said Hannah. Thank you, I said. You were also smart of questioning me out of my hiding spot, said George. I didn't know if you were in here or not. I just knew you would come flying out of here if you heard something I said. Hannah then took out her wallet. Pennies for the fountain, anyone? Hannah asked. Sure thing. Sure. Doing things like this is my duty as next in line is the next in line Prince of Robbinsog, Dr. Marcacius answered. I guess I'll donate to one. I'm in the mood, I said. Me too, said George. We then all threw our pennies into the fountain and then we went on to explore other parts of the conservatory. About a half hour later, we went to explore the children's garden room where of course George wanted to play. Yeah, expect him to be a half hour, said Dr. Marcacius after George took off for the slide. It's okay. I came here to spend time with you. We can stay in here another half hour, said Hannah. Hannah and Dr. Marcacius then kissed on the lips. Neurons began firing again, as they did with me, with the barrier and the banister. Saw George having a few bumps when he was going down the slide. Another moment of object anatomy? Dr. Marcacius asked. Yes, I answered. I then began walking to the stairs to head up to the slide, and then I slide down it, feeling the walls. What do you notice? Hannah asked. You know how the slide is meant to look like a one-piece log? I asked. Yes, Hannah answered. Also yes. Well, that is not the case on the inside. It is several pieces which have been causing minor bumps, I explained. Well, you were able to see these pieces, Dr. Marcacius asked. No, it was too dark on the inside, but I could feel them, I answered. Let me try, said Dr. Marcacius. 30 seconds later, Dr. Marcacius was at the bottom of the slide. Well, there were two things I felt in there. Those bumps and static electricity, said Dr. Marcacius. I noticed, I said. Marcus, look at your hair, said Hannah. I don't have a mirror, Dr. Marcacius said. But I do, said Hannah. Hannah then pulled out a mirror from her purse. Here you go, said Hannah, holding Dr. Marcacius the mirror. Dr. Marcacius then took a look at himself in the mirror and began to crack up like nuts. And my cloak fuzz is sticking out a little bit too, said Dr. Marcacius. Odd for how it isn't for George, I said. That's because he pats everything down before he slides. Really? He does that? I asked. Yes, said Dr. Marcacius. I then watched George get off and then back on the slide. Oh, he does, I said.